The ink on my husband's death certificate was still wet when his mother served me with papers. Not condolences, not offers of support, a lawsuit. She wanted to rip away the only piece of James I had left, our unborn child. And she was willing to destroy me to do it. I remember how the paper smelled like expensive toner and something faintly floral. Margaret's signature perfume, no doubt. She'd probably handled these papers herself before sending her attack dogs to deliver them. My name is Sophia Morgan. 3 years ago, I was just another starving art student surviving on ramen noodles and dreams. The Vanderbilt Charity Gala was supposed to be a one-night gig. Pour champagne, smile politely, and pocket enough tips to cover my textbooks. Then I saw him. James Vanderbilt stood apart from the other tuxedoed guests like a Rembrandt in a room full of cheap prints. While everyone else preened and posed, he was awkwardly adjusting his cufflinks near the ice sculpture, looking profoundly uncomfortable. "Can I get you another drink?" I'd asked when I noticed his empty glass. He startled like I'd caught him doing something illicit. God, yes. Anything to make these vultures tolerable. That night, we hid in a servant's hallway sharing stories. Me about growing up in a double-wide trailer in Ohio. Him about sneaking out of boarding school to buy street hot dogs. When dawn painted the sky pink over Central Park, he pressed his number into my palm. Call me, not the family office. Me. What followed was the stuff of tabloid dreams. Private picnics on the Vanderbilt yacht where we ate grilled cheese instead of caviar. Secret weekends in Vermont where James could wear flannel instead of brioni. The night he proposed during a thunderstorm in our favorite dive bar, shouting over the jukebox, "Marry me so I never have to go to another damn gala alone." Our Malibu wedding was small by Vanderbilt standards, just 50 guests. James insisted we write our own vows. His voice broke when he promised, "I'll love you more than all the art in all the museums you'll curate someday." December 17th started like any other morning. James was flying to Boston for a board meeting he'd been dreading. "It's just one night," he said, kissing my forehead while I stayed curled in bed. "I'll be back by dinner. Don't forget. You promised to tell me your surprise." I was making pancakes when the call came. The words "plane," "an accident," and "no survivors" came through in jagged fragments. I remember the spatula slipping from my fingers, the batter burning on the griddle. At the hospital, 2 truths came to me within hours of each other. First, the doctor confirming my pregnancy. "About 6 weeks along," she said gently. Then the Vanderbilt family lawyer with his crocodile smile. "Given the unusual circumstances, the family will be requiring DNA confirmation of any potential heir." Margaret Vanderbilt held the funeral at St. Patrick's Cathedral. 500 of the right people sipping champagne while a choir sang James' favorite hymn. I sat in the front row, my black dress already tight around my waist, counting the stairs burning into my back. When Margaret took the podium, her voice never wavered. "My son had a heart too generous for this world," she said, her gaze sliding to me. "He saw the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it." The reporters lapped it up. By evening, the headlines wrote themselves. "Gold digger pregnant with Vanderbilt heir." "Mystery surrounds late billionaire's surprise widow." I keep my phone charged with our last conversation saved. James' voice, bright with curiosity. "What's this big surprise you've been hinting at?" Me, biting my lip to keep from blurting it out. "Let's just say, you're going to be someone's favorite person in the whole world." Now that secret grows inside me while his family hires teams of lawyers to declare her illegitimate. Our daughter, the last living piece of James Vanderbilt. And they want to take her from me. The cream-colored envelope bore the Vanderbilt crest in raised gold ink, the kind of stationery reserved for wedding invitations and cease and desist letters. Inside, 12 clinical words that made my knees buckle. Petition for exhumation and DNA testing of the remains of James Carlton Vanderbilt. I remember how the paper cut my thumb when I flipped the page. How ironic. The first blood drawn in this war came from their letterhead, not their accusations. The Vanderbilt legal machine moved with terrifying efficiency. Day 1. Freeze order on all joint accounts. $3.2 million. Day 3. Emergency hearing scheduled to preserve genetic evidence. Day 5. Anonymous sources tell TMZ I'd been seen at a fertility clinic months before James's death. My attorney, Mark Rifkin, who'd represented disgraced CEOs and mob wives, actually paled reading their brief. They're claiming James had bilateral orchitis from mumps at 12, producing hospital records showing azoospermia. He tapped the damning phrase, "Permanent sterility likely." "That's impossible," I choked out. "We were trying for a baby since our anniversary." James kept ovulation test strips in his briefcase. Mark's pen hovered over a yellow legal pad. "Did he ever mention being sick as a child?" A memory surfaced, James wincing when I joked about our future soccer team. "My swimmers might need some coaching." He'd murmured into my hair one night. I'd thought it was modesty. I spread the 8-week ultrasound beside James's 3rd-grade photo on my bedroom floor. That perfect nose. The stubborn set of the jaw that made Margaret call him Little Bulldog. The sob came from somewhere primal when the baby kicked as if responding. I hadn't eaten in 36 hours, but this tiny life fought like its father would have. Then the doorbell rang. James's younger brother stood in the foyer holding 2 Starbucks cups like this was a social call. "For old time's sake," he said, pushing the latte toward me. Pumpkin spice, James's favorite. The psychological warfare was elegant. His offer came wrapped in velvet threats. First, $10 million in a Swiss account. Enough for your artistic pursuits. Second, full custody with generous visitation. And third, legal guarantee the child would never know the Vanderbilt name. When I laughed, he dropped the act. "That corpse won't help you, Sophia. We own the judge, the media." His finger tapped my stomach. "Hell, we own the lab that'll process the DNA." The Daily Mail ran the first photo. Me at 2 a.m. in sweatpants, tear-streaked face illuminated by my phone's glow. Caption, "Grieving widow or guilty conscience?" Then came the bombshell. Grainy shots of me having lunch with David, my art school best friend who'd come to help plan the funeral. The headline screamed, "Vanderbaby Daddy? Mystery man at widow's hideaway." The panic attack hit in the shower, that cruel place where grief always ambushed me. I slid to the tiles, scalding water turning my skin lobster red as I gasped for air. Then I saw it. James's monogrammed bathrobe hanging where he'd left it. The pocket bulged oddly. Inside, the key to his grandfather's desk. The hidden compartment smelled of cedar and secrets. Beneath stock certificates and love letters I'd written him, I found the black leather journal. James's handwriting, more frantic than I'd ever seen. December 2002, Dr. Shaw confirmed it today. The sterility was father's lie. "No son of mine will marry some gold-digging whore because of an accidental pregnancy," he said, as if love could ever be an accident. The next page stopped my heart. Shaw kept the real tests. "If anything happens to me, look for ES at Mass General." Dr. Edwin Shaw's hand shook as he handed me the file. I've been waiting 16 years for someone to ask about this. The documents were damning. Original blood work with normal hormone levels, memo from Senior Vanderbilt. Burn the originals, the boy gets the sterilized version, and $75,000 check to Shaw with consultation fee in the memo. The old man's eyes watered. James came back at 18 wanting the truth. When I showed him, he just said, "At least now I know what real betrayal tastes like." Mark's office became our command center. We mapped our counterattack. File for defamation against Connor's media leaks. Petition to unseal James's true medical records. Preempt the exhumation with the hairbrush DNA. But here's the play. Mark said, eyes gleaming. "We subpoena Margaret's security footage. That penthouse is wired like Fort Knox, if she so much as mentioned this scheme." I squeezed the hairbrush still tangled with James's dark waves. For the first time since the crash, I felt him beside me. The DNA lab technician blinked at my sample baggie. "Ma'am, is this Human hair? I smiled sweetly and slid another $500 across the counter. Let's just call it a family heirloom. James's hairbrush became my Excalibur, under cover of darkness. I plucked 17 strands from his silver boar bristle brush, the one he'd joked cost more than your student loans. Then I swabbed my own cheek in the bathroom of a 24-hour diner and paid cash at a sketchy paternity testing center near the docks. The clerk's eyes widened at the Vanderbilt name. This'll take 72 hours. I tucked the receipt into James's journal. Your hair will save our daughter, I wrote beside his last entry. Dr. Shaw's affidavit wasn't enough. I needed physical proof. His hands trembled as he unlocked a rusted filing cabinet at Mass General. They made me keep 2 sets of books. The original 1998 blood work showed normal testosterone levels, healthy sperm count, handwritten note, patient fully fertile. Senior Vanderbilt's forged signature altering the diagnosis I photographed every page. Why risk keeping these? Shaw adjusted his glasses. James paid me $10,000 a year to preserve them. Said someday, someone would need the truth. Mark's investigator hacked Margaret's security system. Turns out Vanderbilt Secure used the password Margie123. The footage was gold. Clip 1, Connor whispering, "Who cares if the brat's really his?" The press already thinks she's a whore. Clip 2, Margaret shredding real medical files while ordering staff to prepare the sterilized version. But the pièce de résistance? A recorded call with the judge overseeing our case. Make the exhumation painful for her, and that judicial nomination is yours. We filed 3 motions simultaneously. 1, injunction to stop the exhumation. 2, defamation suit against Connor and the Daily Mail. 3, petition to unseal James's true medical history. The press conference nearly caused a riot. I wore James's Yale sweater and held up the ultrasound. This child has more Vanderbilt blood in her little finger than her grandmother has decency. Connor ambushed me at the courthouse elevator. Call off your dogs or I release these. His phone displayed intimate photos from our honeymoon. I laughed until tears came. Post them. Then I'll sue you for revenge porn and show the world this. I played his voice from the surveillance tape. I skimmed $2 million from the cancer fund. What's Mom gonna do, disown her favorite? His face turned the color of spoiled milk. The lab results arrived at 3:17 a.m. I stared at the conclusion. Probability of paternity, 99.99998%. James's hair still clung to the brush. I wound one strand around my finger like a wedding ring. We did it, I whispered. Then promptly vomited from morning sickness. Over lukewarm tea, Mark and I plotted the final play. Leak selected footage to TMZ, just enough to spook Margaret. Schedule the DNA reveal for the custody hearing. Plant a fake loss in Vanderbilt Industries stocks. One condition, I said, touching my bump. No matter what happens, my daughter never hears how they tried to erase her. That night, I dreamed of James. He stood in our kitchen making pancakes the way he had every Sunday. You're stronger than all of them, he said, flipping a golden circle. When I reached for it, I woke clutching his pillow. The clock read 5:30 a.m. In 6 hours, we'd face the Vanderbilts in court. I dressed carefully. White blouse, purity symbolism for the cameras, James's watch, the one he'd worn our first date, and red soles on my Louboutins. A silent fuck you to Margaret's fashion rules. As the car pulled up to the courthouse, photographers swarmed like vultures. I smoothed my dress over the tiny life inside me. Our secret weapon, our living revenge. The bailiffs' all rise echoed through the marble-columned courtroom as Margaret Vanderbilt made her entrance. She wore a Chanel suit the color of fresh blood and pearls that could have paid my college tuition 10 times over. Every camera in New York City was trained on her flawless facade. Little did she know, by lunch recess, the world would see what festered beneath. The air smelled of lemon-scented disinfectant and the sharp tang of ambition. I adjusted James's watch on my wrist, the same one he'd worn when proposing, feeling its weight like armor. Across the aisle, Charles Winthrop III, the Vanderbilt's $2,000 an hour attorney, smirked at his paralegal. They hadn't noticed Doctor, Shaw's trembling hands clutching the medical file, or Mark's thumb hovering over the laptop's playback button. Your Honor, Winthrop began, given Mr. Vanderbilt's documented sterility. Objection. Mark didn't bother standing. We have irrefutable proof those records were falsified. Judge Kowalski's bifocals flashed. Approach. The judge examined Dr. Shaw's affidavit. Counselor, she said coldly to Winthrop, you might want to sit down for what comes next. Dr. Shaw's voice wavered as he presented. The original 1998 blood work, stamped destroy per HV in Vanderbilt records, showing normal testosterone levels. A notarized confession about the $75,000 bribe. Surveillance stills of senior Vanderbilt feeding documents into a shredder. Winthrop's fountain pen snapped. These could be forgeries. Then you'll adore our authentication method, I said, nodding to Mark. The courtroom screens lit up with time-stamped footage. Margaret in her dressing gown, sipping tea while dictating to Connor. The press already thinks she's a whore. Let's lean into that. Plant more photos with her gay friend. A juror gasped. Reporters' fingers flew across keyboards. Then came the coup de grace. Judge Kowalski's own voice from our leaked call. Make the exhumation brutal. The Second Circuit nomination depends on it. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. I'm recusing myself, Kowalski hissed, and recommending the Attorney General investigate all parties involved in this obstruction. Connor's chair screeched as he launched himself at Mark. You fucking traitor! Bailiffs tackled him, sending his phone skittering across the floor. The unlocked screen displayed $2.3 million wire transfers to the Caymans, texts about falsifying Q3 earnings, and a draft email titled, Hostile Takeover Morgan Discredit Plan. The new judge, freshly appointed, eyed Margaret. How convenient your son's arrest coincides with today's shareholder vote. Mark approached the stand with James's hairbrush in a clear evidence bag. Lab Director Chen testified. 27 hair follicles matched James's hospital samples. Mitochondrial DNA confirmed Vanderbilt lineage. Paternity probability, 99.9998%. When the screens displayed our daughter's ultrasound beside James's childhood portrait, even the stone-faced court artist wiped her eyes. Margaret made a sound I'd never heard from her. A whimper. CNN ran live updates. Vanderbilt Industries stock plunging 22%, board members voting 17-0 to remove Connor and museum boards demanding Margaret's resignation. I leaned close as marshals escorted her out. Tell me, Margaret, I whispered, was it worth losing 2 sons today? By 3:07 p.m., 1. Full control of James's $400 million trust, 2. Connor indicted on 7 counts of fraud that night in James's childhood library. I burned Margaret's apology letter in the antique fireplace and played our wedding video on loop. Amelie James Vanderbilt's laughter echoed through our oceanfront villa, bouncing off the walls James had designed for our future children. The morning sun caught the silver rattle Margaret had sent, now repurposed as a Christmas ornament hanging above our daughter's crib. Some poisons, when handled carefully, can become decorations. We celebrated Emily's birthday at the Surprise Test Foundation headquarters, a converted Vanderbilt shipping warehouse where single mothers now accessed free legal aid. The press adored the symbolism. Former gold digger Sophia Morgan cutting a 3-tier cake beside women fighting their own in-laws. Margaret's latest lawyer had sent a package that morning. Inside, a first edition of Peter Pan, James's favorite childhood book. A note. For the child who will never know her real family, I donated the book to our foundation library, scratching out Margaret's inscription to replace it with, To all the lost girls who will build better families than the ones they came from. The apology arrived on the anniversary of James's death. Heavy linen paper, the Vanderbilt crest embossed in fading gold. Sophia, you were right about the DNA. Wrong about everything else. A mother's love. I stopped reading there. The fireplace swallowed Margaret's words as Amelie babbled at the flames, her tiny hands reaching for the sparks. Later, my assistant would tell me Margaret had collapsed at a charity gala that same hour. The papers called it heat exhaustion. I knew better. Some fires burn across distances. Our landmark case made headlines. Surprise test, mom wins against pharma heirs. Lena Rodriguez, a 24-year-old widow, kept her husband's patents after we proved his family faked mental incapacity documents. At the celebration, Lena handed me a seashell from her late husband's collection. "It gets easier, right?" she asked, rocking her newborn. I adjusted Amelie's sun hat before answering. "Number, but you get stronger than the people trying to break you." That night, I added the shell to James's memorial shelf beside. His favorite Yale pennant, the hairbrush that won our war. A framed photo of Connor's perp walk, Dr. Shaw's granddaughter, appeared at our gate last Tuesday, clutching a manila envelope. "Grandpa made me promise to deliver this when the trial was over," whispered the med student. Inside, 1. James's teenage diary, detailing how he'd secretly funded a clinic for the poor. 2. A key to a safe deposit box. The box contained $2.3 million in bonds, exactly the amount Connor had stolen. The note simply read, "For Amelie's medical school," or her first race car. J. I used it to endow a fellowship in Shaw's name instead. The first recipient? A single mother studying forensic pathology. Today, as I write this, Emily plays at my feet with the vintage train set James loved. Outside, the Pacific licks at the shore like it's trying to tell me something. Margaret's obituary ran yesterday. Devoted mother made me snort coffee through my nose. The phone rings constantly. Interview requests, book deals, another Vanderbilt cousin trying to reconnect. I let the machine answer. There's only one call that matters now. It comes every Sunday at 3 p.m. sharp. Lena Rodriguez, updating me on her daughter's latest achievements. Today, she said, "Maria took her first steps. She's chasing a butterfly like it's trying to get away from her." I look down at Emily, now dozing against my ankle, and whisper what James used to tell me when I feared the future. "They should be afraid of you, darling, not the other way around." The Vanderbilt fortune bought me this ocean view, but the woman who outplayed them? She was built in a trailer park for moments like this. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more unbelievable real-life stories.